Inspiration. I'm Alison Sims from Paleo Foodies, and today I'm here with Soulla Chamberlain of Anise Organic Wholefoods. And today we're going to show you how to make bone broth, which is a key ingredient of the paleo diet, and how to use bone broth in a key dish. So can you tell us about the menu today, Soulla?
Yeah, thanks Alison. So today I'm going to show you how to make a chicken broth, and then we're going to strain a beef broth and then use that beef broth as a key ingredient in a slow cooked lamb casserole.
Fantastic, okay. So we've got some ingredients here.
Yeah, so the first thing you need are bones.
Okay.
So you're going to ask your butcher for some grass-fed and finished beef or lamb bones, or pastured chicken carcasses, or you're going to ask your fishmonger for some fish frames from wild, not farmed fish. Okay. So today I've got here some chicken carcasses and some chicken feet.
Oh, and why do we use chicken feet?
The chicken feet is what makes the chicken broth really gelatinous. The more gelatin in your broth, the more healing it is for your gut.
Yes, okay. All right, let's get started.
So basically you pack as many bones into your pot as possible.
Okay.
So I've got here a 20-litre pot.
Yeah, nice and big.
So make it in bulk and can freeze.
Yep.
So I'm adding about 10 chicken frames here. And a couple packets of chicken feet. Right. And then you fill the pot with filtered water to just cover the bones, which I've already done.
Yep.
And then we add in a splosh of apple cider vinegar.
Okay, I'm intrigued by this. Why do we add apple cider vinegar?
Well, the apple cider vinegar is said to draw minerals out of the bones.
Oh, okay. Right.
And then we add in herbs and spices, whatever takes your fancy.
Okay.
So some cracked pepper, some bay leaves.
Oh yes, I always add bay leaves.
Some thyme, and some garlic granules. Okay, I don't add the salt at this point, I add it in at the end.
Okay.
And then basically we cover it, and if possible we allow to stand for an hour to allow the apple cider vinegar to draw the minerals out of the bones. And then we take it, put it on the stove top, bring it to a boil, and then turn it down to slow simmer. For beef broth, say 8 to 12 hours would do it, and this is low to the little bubbles. Chicken stock, 6 to 12 hours, and a fish stock, you would boil it for no more than 1 to 2 hours anymore, and the stock becomes bitter.
Right, okay.
And then you let it cool.
Okay, and what about people who use slow cookers?
Well, you could certainly use a slow cooker to make your stock, but you're just going to yield much less volume than, say, a 20-litre stock pot. And for me, if I'm going to go to the effort of making a stock, I would rather make it in large quantity and then freeze it.
Okay, but it would be the same cooking process.
Same process. I turn it on the high temperature setting to bring it to a boil, and then the low setting on the slow cooker to long slow cook it. Overnight in 8 to 10 hours.
Okay,
for beef and chicken.
All right, so that's ready to sit for an hour. Perfect. So we have a bone broth that's been pre-prepared. This has been simmering for all day yesterday and cooling overnight.
That's right.
And this is a beef broth. Okay.
Okay, so now the process is to strain it. So what I do is I get a bowl and I line it with a big garbage bin, and then I get a sieve and I simply strain all the bones out of here.
Oh wow.
As you can see, big chunks of beef bones are in there. Now if you wanted to, you could have separate containers and put the meat off the bone in there, the fat and the marrow, and use those for future use. Or if you're very time poor, you can just throw everything out. You can just keep the stock at the end.
And the garbage bag is just to contain everything, really.
To contain everything, exactly, and then that goes straight into the bin, so less washing up.
Yes, we like that. And so why is bone broth so essential to the diet?
Well, bone broth is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, so there are numerous health benefits.
And what are some of those health benefits?
Well, bone broths build and repair your osteoskeletal system. They're very immune building and fortifying, but they also allow the body to detoxify. They make your skin and hair glow. They promote great sleep quality and mental calmness. The gelatin in the broth heals the gut and aids in proper digestion. And it's a really good source of protein, fat, and a multitude of micronutrients. And new research has brought to light that bone broth should be consumed whenever muscle meat and eggs are consumed. Okay, so once all the bones have been strained out of that, Then what I do is I grab a 1 litre measuring jug and I simply pour the broth straight into the container that I'm going to store it in. Now I like these large glass containers and I just use a little strainer and pour it straight in. I don't like using glass jars because if you freeze them, they will crack.
Yes.
So I like these wide ones here.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we add the salt. So for every 1 litre of stock, we add 1 teaspoon of salt. That's 1.5 litres there.
Okay.
So I'm going to add 1.5 teaspoons of salt.
Great.
Right, and then it's done and there's still sufficient space at the top. So when it freezes and expands, it's not going to crack. And then I can put that in the fridge or freezer now.
Okay, and that's ready to use?
It's ready to use and stock lasts about 5 to 7 days in the fridge and several months in the freezer.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so we've shown you how to prepare a bone broth. We've shown you how to strain it. Now we're ready to show you how to use it. So Soulla, what are some of the uses of bone broth? Okay, well you can drink it straight in a cup as you would a hot drink or an entree or a snack. Yeah. 1 to 2 cups a day would be perfect. Okay. You could add a little more flavour and nutrients by adding a squeeze of lemon juice to chicken stock, or some butter to fish stock, or some grated parmesan cheese and some eggs to beef stock. Yep. You could add 1 to 2 tablespoons of cold gelatinous beef broth to your smoothies or to a sports drink, and I swear you won't taste it. Yeah. Okay. You could use stock in place of water in soup recipes to add nutrients and flavour. My daughter loves eating cold gelatinous bone broth from a spoon in warm months. Yes, the original jelly. Yeah. And you can use stock in place of water in casserole recipes, which is what we're going to do now. Excellent. So can you tell us about the dish we're about to prepare? Okay, so I'm going to make a slow cooked Mediterranean lamb shoulder. So I love casseroles. I call them one pot wonders because you basically add all the ingredients into the pot in one hit in a matter of minutes. And then slow cook it for several hours or even overnight, and then your meal is ready. Done. Okay, yeah, so my casserole involves a 4-part formula. So the first thing is meat on the bone. So here I've got some pastured lamb shoulder, and I got the butcher to cut it up into quarters because it's a lot more practical to add it to a pot. You could also use lamb shanks, chump chops, loin chomps, lamb necks. Yeah. Then the second part of the formula is the root vegetables. So I've got some garlic and onions here. So I'll dice up the garlic. Add that into the pot. Straight into the pot. Yeah. Why have you been soaking these root vegetables over here? Oh, so that prevents them from oxidizing. Okay. So if you need to do it ahead of time, because that's when it's more practical, you peel them and you just put them in water and it stops them from growing brown. Oh, good. Yeah. Yeah. So just dicing up the onion there. Dicing up the onion. Straight in. And throwing that straight in. The aromas are amazing already. And then we're going to do some root vegetables. So here I've got some potato. Yep. Okay, cut those up into chunks. Okay, go straight in. Yep. Fairly large chunks. Yeah, fairly large because it's going to, depending on the length of time you're cooking, I'll be cooking this to say 6-7 hours. Okay, that goes in. Yep. What else do I have here? I've got some carrots. Okay, so 6 to 7 or 12 hours of cooking time doesn't translate into 6 to 7 or 12 hours of effort. Yes. It's literally a few minutes of effort for reaping that wonderful reward. Yes. Okay, and then the next part of the formula is my herbs and spices. And because we're doing a Mediterranean dish, I'm going to add some bay leaves. I'm going to add some rosemary. You do fresh or dry. I'm going to add a little bit of paprika because I like a bit of a kick. And you just do it to taste the quantity. Yeah, I don't measure. That's a boring way to live. Yeah. And some oregano. Okay. And then obviously salt and pepper. And then the fourth part of the formula is the liquids. Now the liquids are the stock, so 2 cups of stock, which we strained just before. Yes, that was just made. Yeah, so that goes in.
Okay, 1 cup of tomato puree. It tends to work really well.
Yeah.
And then about 3/4 of a cup of red wine. Now the alcohol all evaporates during the cooking process. That's something I get asked a lot.
I was worried about that.
So that goes in, and then the lid goes on, and then you basically slow cook it for between anywhere 5 to 12 hours at 80 to 120 degrees Celsius. So I'll probably cook this at 100 degrees for 6 to 7 hours, because that's when dinner's going to be ready.
Yeah, perfect.
You can even do this
make it in the morning and
absolutely before work. Assemble it. Takes 5 minutes, and then when you come home from work, your dinner's done. You could also put this in a slow cooker on a low setting, and it's the same thing.
Okay, great. So that one's ready to go on.
That's ready to go on.
So here we have a lamb casserole that's been prepared earlier. This has been simmering for how long?
Well, I threw this together and popped it in the oven before I went to bed last night. So it's been going for about 10, 11 hours at 80 degrees.
Great.
And that's it there.
Fantastic. Looks amazing. And for anyone interested in more information, they can visit your website, which is staraniseorganic.com. Thank you so much for having me in your kitchen today. It's been great. I've learned a lot. And I think now it's time for us to try.
That's it. Thanks.